Hi all, welcome back. I am Vishwanath. Today, let's discuss how we can create an AWS account and also see how we can integrate Spring Boot application with the AWS account. Without any delay, let's get started. So let's open a browser of your choice and look for AWS account by clicking AWS account login and select the first link that will take you to the AWS login page. If you already have an account, probably you can skip it. If you don't have an account, follow the steps along with me by clicking on create AWS link. This is a place where you'll be supplying your email ID and also the account AWS account name, which you can modify it later. Once you supply the email ID, you will receive a email to which the verification has to be done in the next page. Typically, for whichever the email you have provided, you should be able to receive a verification code, which you will enter it in the second page and click on verify. Post verification, you will be prompted a page where it says that your email ID has been successfully verified, and you can supply your passwords and confirm the password, and you can click on next button. Post supplying the details of passwords, you will be prompted a screen where the contact information have to be provided. Inside this, you can select your personal details and like you need to supply your username, contact details, and the country and the address. And once you supply this details, you will be prompted to the step 2, where it will ask for few more information. And before we supply these details, you can make a note that all the services that are provided are never going to expire, and the services are free up to 12 months. And your trial starts as soon as the activation is started. For now, I'll be passing the video and I'll be entering my personal details. So once you supply the personal details, you will be prompted billing information page where you will be supplying the credit card, debit card information. And once you fill those details, it will take you to the next step where it will redirect your to your bank website in order to verify the details that you have provided. For now, again, I'll be resume passing this and I'll be completing the steps. Once the bank confirmation is being complete, you will be prompted to confirm your identity, where you can supply your mobile number and you can fill these details where the SMS will be sent. And once the mobile uh, details are being supplied, you will be asked to uh, verify the PIN that is being shared via SMS to your phone. Once you supply the required details, it will be able to navigate to the next screen where you will be asked to provide the necessary details, whether you want to opt for free tier, or you want to apply like 29 months or $100 dollars a month. Currently I'll be looking for like a free tier and I'll be clicking on complete. And on click of that complete button, now you can see like your AWS account is now set, and you will be able to navigate to this button. Congratulations to you all. Now that you have an account on AWS, now let's start working with AWS. Now that we have created a AWS account, now quickly open the IntelliJ in order to configure the AWS account that we have created to the IntelliJ using AWS Toolkit. If you have not installed that plugin, I want you to install that plugin by just going to the plugin options, or the settings where you can just see as a plugins, and the plugin that is required is related to the AWS toolkit. So you can get that plugin from the marketplace by searching for that plugin, and once you install it, that will give you an option of selecting the credentials. Currently I'm trying to create it, the configuration file. uh, And in order to integrate, what we need to do is we have to come to the AWS console, and then on the right hand top corner, you can see like the user ID, where you can click on security credentials. As soon as you click on the security credentials, it will log the page, and you can see the page has just loaded, where you can go to a section called access keys, where you can create an access key, and you can check this box, and you can say like you have understood it, and create the access key. This is your access key, and you can click on show password to show the password. Or you can alternatively use this copy button for copying it. I have just copied them, and you can see the access key is just created. Now you can go back to the editor, and then you can integrate that with the IDE. So on the IDE, if you see it, this is the place where you will be, like uh, modifying this details as, and once you do, you can click on save as well. Also, please note that you should not use the brackets when you are trying to enter the values. If you are trying to enter with the brackets, then it will not match. Ensure that you don't enter that with the brackets. And once you select it, you will be able to navigate to the AWS toolkit, and you will be able to see the details, because we have not created anything currently, as part of just integrating the creating an access key, and then integrating with that with the IDE is what I wanted to show. Now that this integration is complete, we can see how we can integrate with the components like S3 bucket, or it can be like SQS, simple queue systems, or it can be like any other resources that we have. So as part of this demonstration, what we will do is we will create a simple SQS service, simple queue service on AWS, and we will create a Java Spring Boot application in order to integrate with the SQS. So in order to create a simple queue service, we will type on SQS, where it will land you, and the key details is the region currently I'm using as a London. So whichever the place that you are close to, you can select that region. So if you are trying to create this region, you can see like it is going to be free for all services, like which is going to make 1 million requests per month. So that is another reason like why I want to start with SQS. And SQS typically works as a producer consumer pattern, which we say as a pub sub pattern. And while creating the SQS, we can create like queues in two patterns. One is on FIFO, which is like typically says as a first in first out, where you have created a message, it goes to the queue, and the consumer will receive the queue in which the first message that was being created, the order is being maintained. And there is another type in SQS as well. While creating, we will have a quick word on it. And you can also see the use cases where AWS is trying to use use it over here. And typically when it comes to the batching, the data that is amount to be is sent or receive, or it is going to be delete, it is up to like 256 KB. um, and let's quickly start how we can create SQS using AWS console. Later, we can also create the same using like application, or Spring Boot application, or it can be a Terraform as well. Like for now, we'll create a simple one using the console by clicking on create queue. And as I mentioned earlier, there are two types. One is a standard one, and another is an FOQ. In the standard one, as you see, like the main difference between them is in terms of transactions. If you're going for unlimited transactions, then I recommend you to use the standard info, where you can support nearly unlimited transactions. Whereas FIFO, if you look into the information, it says like it can supply up to 3000 messages per second, and because it has to maintain the order, there is a limit on the transaction details. And as I said, like it is going to be delivered like first in first out. The order is maintained. So for our demonstration, we can simply go with like a standard info, where we will mention it, the queue details. And once we moving on to the next one, the configuration. When we are trying to create a queue, we can say like how long the visibility of the message should reside in, and what happens if there is any delay, and is there any wait time, or what is the size. Typically you can use anything between 256, maximum is 256, and also we can use like how long the messages that we have sent, if the subscriber is not going to consume, how long that messages need to reside in that queue. So that's called as a retention period. And also in terms of security, because the data that we are going to send and receive are to be encrypted, AWS typically helps you in maintaining server side encryption, where you can choose whether it needs to be encrypted or not. And during the transfer, AWS typically maintain like encryption by default. Uh, so And moving on to the access policies, you can select one of the simple access policy, or you can go for an advanced access policy. If it is going to be a simple access policy, you can select like how it is going to be. And there is a concept called as a read, drive, allow policy, where you can enable or disable. This will help you to this will typically help you to select the sources for dead letter queues. And also we can configure the dead letter queues if it is required, and optionally we can give the tag names. For that's technical information. Let's jump on to practicals, and let's make our hands dirty. So in order to create a queue, all we will be creating, clicking on this create queue mechanism, and we will just say like first queue service, first queue, uh, or probably you can also mention as a first queue. And all we will make all these options to be default, and let's create a queue. So creating a queue is super simple. All we have provided the name alone. So the information that I have said as part of the theory is good to know, and we can still implement it. And in order to test the queue, AWS also gives you a functionality to send and receive the messages. For example, if you click on send, if you say like first message, like I said as a first message and typed as a first name. My apologies for that. And if I'm trying to say as a first message and say as a send, uh, from publisher, the data has sent to the queue, and from queue, the data has to be received by a consumer. So currently, we have not created any, like publisher or consumer. So what we are trying to see is the queue is now holding the data. So if you poll the message, polling is a concept of viewing what is the data that is being present in the queue. So if we poll the message, we will be able to, see the data based on the time limit that we have mentioned it earlier. And if we again like say as a send message, you can see like the polling duration initially as part of setting our queue we have mentioned as 30 seconds. So if a new message comes, the queue has automatically polled that for us. So if I'm trying to send another message over here, you see like I have not able to see this message because the poll duration was complete. If I want to see it once again, then I need to click on a poll so that it will be able to show me like what are the messages. For example, if I click on the first message, it just says like it is a third message. And if you see, this is my second message, and if you see this one, it to be my first message. So and if I say as a stop polling, and if I again say like poll all, you can now see the count because the first two messages are having like a poll as a 3, and the other message, the every time I poll it, the poll count keeps increasing in another words. So let me say like if I'm trying to view this message, I will be able to view this message. Along with that, I'll be having like extra parameters like message ID, message size, message count, and message sent. So when typically we write a program on Java, we will be interested in knowing like what is the primary key of the message, so which is an ID, and based on that we can get the message information. And once we read the message, we can write a program in such a way that we can delete the message as well. And from the screen, if you want to delete the message, it is again super simple. Just click on that and then click on the delete message so that the message gets deleted. Once the message is deleted, because we have not mentioned any like other settings or the configurations, currently if the message is deleted, it just gets deleted. If we have enabled the other configuration like dead letter queues or retrieval mechanisms, then we will be able to like get that information as well. So now that we have seen like how to create a queue from the screen wise, and how to send the data, or how to peep the data in or poll the data in, and how to once the data is consumed, how to parse the data. We have seen everything on UI. Now let's create a simple Java application where we can do all this data programmatically. Also, if we navigate back to our like IntelliJ, we should be able to see the newly created queue by clicking on refresh. uh, yeah, you have seen this, and if you double click on it, you can also send messages, uh, read messages from this, and view messages. Currently you can see like the messages, it says like there are three messages available, and if you click on it, you will be able to see those message details. And if you want to again like poll for a message, you can still do all the operations what we have performed on the UI on this part as well. Like for example, like sent, if I say as sent from here, I'll be able to, the message has been sent, for which I have also received the sent ID. So on click of view message, you can see like the messages, like first message that was sent from AWS window and sent is now using this. We will also create a simple Spring Boot Java app where we will connect to SQS, and we will try to send the message and try to read the message and delete the messages. Let's start by navigating to starter.spring.io, and let's select the dependencies over there. I have a shortcut on my browser for Spring Initializer. So when I click on it, it navigates me to this home page because I have a shortcut for start.spring.io. Currently, the language that I have chosen is Java, and the project is Maven, and the Spring Boot application is 3.0.2. And I am trying to set this as an example where it is a demo, and I'm going to create this as a Spring Web and as well as the Lambok. The reason why I have not changed this details typically is that can also be customized once we have downloaded it, and I'll make this as a template. Uh, so that we can generate it, and I'll be checking this project on Git as a template, so that next time we need not use the initializer. And I and for the demo, what I'm interested is in terms of creating a template, and also like in terms of creating the SQL. So for SQS, what all we have to change is SQS demo, and let the dependencies be like that, and packaging is jar, and Java dependency, Java version that JDK that I'm JRE that I'm going to use is 17. And I'll just click on this, and this will typically download this version. What I'll also do is I'll extract this, and once the data is been extracted, I'll be loading the one from IDE. So in order to do that, all I need to copy this path, and I'll navigate to my IDE, and on this IDE, what I will be saying as I'll be saying as a new project which I need to be loading it from a existing source. And over here you can see that existing source is already set for me, so I'm just trying to say as an OK. So all based on the options, all I'm trying to select as nest options, and all I'm trying to say as a create. So once the project is created, sometimes it opens in a new window. uh, yeah, for now it has opened in the same window. I will also close the other IntelliJ windows that I have. So that is only one, the demo module. And in terms of creating the SQS, typically I can say like there are 5 to 6 steps. The first step that we are interested is in dependencies. Inside the dependencies, we'll go to the pom.xml, we'll create the SDK, and because we are working with the SQS, we also need to configure the messages as one of the dependencies, which we call as a AWS messaging, and also the Spring messaging as well. So there are 3 jars that we will be configuring as part of pom.xml in first step. And second step is to go to the application.properties and then provide a region alone. The details like credentials are not required, because we had already proved the connectivity between the RAD and AWS account, where we are able to connect with that. In the same way, like application will also be able to make that connect. and hence we will not be specifying anywhere like a secret key or ID. And the third change that we are trying to do is to create the packages. We create typically like three packages. One is for the configuration, where inside the configuration we will be creating like three beans. One is async bean, or typically you can name it as Amazon SQS async, and second being that is going to be a queue messaging template, and third one is going to be a message queue listener. And in the next package, which we call it as to be a producer, and inside the producer we will be using this template queue message template, which holds a method called a convert and send, where it takes the parameter of SQS endpoint and as well as the message. And in the producer, what we will be having is one more method called as a message. If you are trying to send a Pojo class, then we can have that details over there. And in terms of consumer, where we are going to hear the message, it is also going to be super simple, where we will have those consumer details register. So without any delay, let's get started. So we will open the pom.xml. In order to open the pom.xml, let's go to the source, and sorry, let's go to the main project, and we have these details. uh, so I'm going to pom.xml, and over here I'm going to add dependencies. So the dependencies, as I said, like first one, I'm going to add like Amazon AWS as a group ID. So over here I'll just say as sorry, I'll just say as dependencies DEP and alt enter, and that will help me to and give a placeholder in terms of entering what I'm interested. So all I'm trying to select is an SDK of release version, or release. And the other dependency that I'm interested is basically related to the org spring framework, org.spring cloud. Um, and instead of getting like AWS, I'm only interested in Cloud Starter messaging. So even there, I'm interested in release version. So this is the second dependency, and because I'm trying to deal with the messages, all I'm trying to say is I'm going to use the dependency for Spring message org.spring framework, or Spring framework, where I'm going to use the details from Spring messaging. And yeah, so these are the three charts that I'm interested, and let the Maven loads the changes. Meantime, the second change that we are interested in doing is going to the application dot properties, and in the application dot properties, all we'll be mentioning like one property which is super simple, which is related to the region that we are going to set as AWS regions. And the region currently I'm interested in setting this as to be the EU West 2, that is pointing to London. So that's the second change that I'm interested in. And third step is creating the packages. What I will be doing is I'll be going to the Java and I'll expand that. And once the packaging structure that I want to create, as I mentioned earlier, it is going to be three folders where first folder is going to be a config, and second folder is going to be a producer, and third one is going to be a consumer. Let me quickly create the package structure by clicking on package, where I'll first one is config, uh, then the second one that I'm interested in package is going to be my producer, and the next package that I'm going to say is it going to be my consumer package consumer. So in terms of my config, I'm going to create my class where I'm going to define the configuration related to the SQS. I'll call this to be an SQS config class. So because it's a config class, all I'm going to write the annotation as configuration, mm, at rate configuration, and I'm also going to import this annotation. Uh, and once I import this annotation, if the import is successful, the compilation error goes off. And now what we will also be doing is we'll be because we have in the application.properties we have created a property. We will try to get that value from application.properties for the region. So how to get that values is basically using a annotation called as a value, which starts with capital V value, and in order to take that values, what we'll be using as an ampersand, and inside that ampersand we will be just copy pasting the field from here, copy it and then paste it over here, and also importing this annotation as well. And please note that this is not from a Lambok, it is from Spring framework. So all we are trying to say is to import it. So let's create a bean for Amazon SQS async one in order to build the service. So it's a capital A because the class name. So we are going to write a method. It is public. Uh, let's import this by importing the class, and let's create an object for that, and get async message. We can also say that, and it is going to return the async builder all from the client. We are trying to build the client for this. So how we are trying to build the client is basically what we are trying to say is it is going to be an either like a client or then async client builder, or you can directly use like async client builder dot the respective methods. We are trying to build a standard one for a given region. That was a reason why we have created this parameter as a region, and all we are trying to build that, and because in AWS SDK we already have like this concept of building it. We are trying to say like this is going to be our primary bean, and hence we are trying to annotate that with the bean annotation as well. So what we will also be doing is we will be importing this particular bean, and just for copy paste, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create one more method which is related for queue messaging as a template. So that helps me to like to communicate to the publisher in order to send the details as. So all I'm trying to say is I'm trying to create a new instance of a queue, and this will typically take a parameter where the parameter is my get my async client. The first bean that I have created, I'm trying to pass that bean, and I need not have a primary one on it. And in terms of the third bean that I have mentioned, like I'm going to create a simple factory of simple messaging listener, where it is going to typically hold my details, where I'm going to customize my details. So all I'm going to say is this is what I'm interested in. I'm trying to create an object of it, factory new of this. So factory, not sure why it didn't took in the first place, and I'm trying to say as a return, uh, return of my factory instance of it. So over here, what I'm also trying to do is, like, because I have my factory over here, I'm trying to say is I'm trying to set the details as my SQS. Over here, it is going to take the one that I have created. Along with that factory, I'm also trying to say, like, the way how it has to start is going to be, auto startup to be a true. These are the two main parameters that I am interested in configuring. With these two parameters, I can also configure other parameters, like, for example, if I want to configure the messages, how many messages that it has to come, or the concurrency or number of messages that it has to publish. All those details can also be done over here. And the other one that we are interested is in the producer package, where we are going to create a new class, and let's name that class to be a publisher. So once we go inside this publisher, this is going to be a component class. So let's have that annotation in place, component, and let's import that annotation as well. And once once this annotation import is complete, what we are trying to create is, we have already created this one template. All I'm trying to reuse that template over here, and I'll just say as a template. And I'm going to in order to reuse it, I'm trying to say as an auto void, with the annotation as an auto void. And this typically has a method called as convert and send, where I'll be trying to send the details, public void send message. uh, so I can also parameterize that. For now, I'm going to assume that the template that I'm going to send, dot send convert and send message. This can take the payload, but I'm interested in calling the other constructor, I mean, another method, which will take the endpoints. So all I can say is it is going to take an endpoint as one of the parameters, and the other is the actual payload. So for my payload, what I will do is I'll try to create a new class where I'll say as a message, and and over here I'm going to say, like, this is my first message. So in order to know the logs, whether the application is coming to here or not, all I'm trying to use the SFL4 for printing the statements, log info. All I'll say is, this sending messages, which is going to be very apt for this, sending messages. and going to create it. Likewise, I'm interested in creating the endpoint where I'll be going to my uh, details on browser. So once the browser is up, all I'm trying to copy the URL, and I'm again trying to navigate to the IntelliJ, where I'm going to mention my URL over here. Like in order to make it super simple, what I'll also be doing is I'm trying to extract this bit to be a constant. So in order to do that, the shortcut is Command Option C. Uh, and you can type this as a, queue name, queue queue name or queue URL. So that would be right. So and the second one over here is another one that I am going to create, where it should typically ask for messages going to be there. So I'll say as a custom message. So again, if I go for it, it says like create a class. So all I'm going to create a class inside my publisher, where it is typically going to take this details. Over here, I'm not interested in implementing anything, and what I will say is it is going to be a private message, and I'll also implement all the details by using the annotation as a Lombok data annotation, and as well as the arguments, because I'm interested in all arguments constructor. These are the two annotations that I'll typically be having on this. And moving on, the next one that I'm interested is in consumer package, where I'll be creating, probably I'll rename this because it will be confusing producer consumer, because I have said as a publisher. Then I can name the other method to be, like consumer. So I'll just rename my package, where I'll just say, instead of a consumer, I'll just say as a receiver. So in that way, like I can rename my class to be like a consumer, create a class to be a consumer. So inside my class consumer, because it is going to be um, the component class, I'm trying to also create this as a component annotation, and also I'm going to use the SFL for logging as well. So I have, and along with that, because it is going to use the SQS, and I'm trying to enable this annotation. Without this annotation, your consumer class will not be able to listen to the details from the queue. So that is one of the important annotations. If you're stuck, probably the first place I can recommend you is to look for that annotation, whether it is present or not. And the other annotation we will be creating a method where we will be saying as public void receive messages, or consume messages, receive messages. And this method, on this method, like the annotation that we are going to use is SQS listener, where it can take like multiple values, but the value that I am interested is basically the name of the queue. Over here, the queue name is the first queue what we have created, and the other parameter that we can pass over here is in terms of a deletion policy. policy, and we have various deletion policies. One policy that I am interested is in only delete when it is on success. So in this way we need not go for failure scenarios, where if it is a failure, the message is always going to be stayed over there uh, till the retention period, not forever. And I can just say like double quote, and I can just say like this consumer dot method name. Okay, consumer receive messages. uh, so, so yes. So in this, like all I'm trying to say, it is going to have something as a message, and over here, like because it is going to receive the messages, all I'm trying to say is this is what my message is. So I'm just trying to print the message that I have uh, uh, got to this queue, and the queue invocation is being done with this annotation and as well as this annotation. Now let's quickly jump on to our main class, where we will be creating an object of this particular class. Not we will be injecting it using the customer injection. So sorry, we will be injecting via constructor injection. So what we will be doing over here is I'll create a public final attribute, sorry, private final for this publisher, and I'll be injecting this one. Let me first import this class. So what we will be doing is we will be pressing Alt Insert for a shortcut, where we will be saying as a parameter injection, and inside this parameter injection, what we will be also doing is we'll be calling the method. That was another reason why I have set it to be an hard-coded method. So dot send publish events. Let me check what was the method name. Yeah, send method is what we have mentioned as. So inside that send, we are trying to invoke this method, uh, publisher. I think I have deleted the object of, I mean, of it, send message. Yeah, it goes over here. So let's start the application, and let's see like how it goes. So start the application. We can always say as enable annotation if that is not been done. And so let's run this, and once we run it, the flow goes to the send queue, where it will typically print that message, sending the message, where we have hard coded the value as sent. And in the again, like if you go back to here, over here, like the number of messages that it has present or not, is also seen over there. And once the message is being received, the sending the messages, where we have also seen that the consuming the message. So if we again go back to the browser, where we have seen like the messages are being sent and received, like it was nearly empty, because the data was already being consumed. That means that there is no data to be, like persisted. So in order to identify the data is there or not, what we will do is we will stop this, and we can also, remove of this inside this customer class, sorry, inside our receiver class. What we can do is we can take off this annotation saying as delete policy. In that way, we can see the message, and we can still have that message as well. Like so, let's rerun, the same thing, and let's go to the browser once again. So that on browser, you this time we will be able to see the message as a first queue, that is going to be, like first message that is going to be, printed via programmatically. So let's start the application. Yeah, application has is still starting. You can see the application has kick started, and we can see like it has sent the details, sending the message. It has sent the message, and consumer has received the message. The only difference between the first time and this time is we will be able to see the message by pulling it, because we have not used the delete policy. So So over here, like we can see like the messages on in-flight mode. So over here we can see like the message is one. If we go back to the code, we will just see that the message has printed, because I have tried like multiple times. It has just printed multiple times. So every time when we say like this is only one message that is there, and the listener is going to listen to that message, and and in the log, as part of our listener, what we have is to print the log. So it will always print to the log, and because it's an asynchronous, it keeps printing to the log n number of times. So unless we have like a delete policy, for example, like currently the delete policy what I have is delete to never, so that the message is being heard and still it is not being processed. So in order to process the message, we can after processing the message, what we can say as delete policy to be, like policy to be, delete on success. So it just deletes the policy once it is successful, because we don't have auto dev tools configured. We have to uh, do it manually, so that once the application is complete, then we will see like one more message is coming to the queue, and then it's getting deleted as well, like so so application has just started. Now we can see like the sending has done, and it has consumed these two messages which were there. And now if we click on refresh, the messages count will be 0, because it has consumed, and the policy on that is delete. With that, we have completed like our first application in cloud, where we are able to, send the data and receive the data, and play around with our business logic, whatever it is going to be.